Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review for A Sorceress Comes to Call by T Kingfisher. This is a standalone adult fantasy story that follows two main characters. One is Cordelia, who is a kind of like preteen, I think she's like 14 years old, and her mother is a sorceress. In this world, sorcerers and sorceresses are kind of rare. They're seen as like not very powerful, and people don't know a lot about them, but her mother is different. She puts her under her control. It's a very abusive relationship, and she lives in constant fear of her mother. Then one day something happens in their town and they have to flee because of something her mom did, and her mom wants to like rope in a man to marry them and like keep them sort of safe and comfortable, but she can't do that through magic because churches break any kind of spell. So she's having to do this a little bit without magic and a little bit with magic. And so she targets this local squire, and his sister Hester is the other main character. So she is in her, I don't know, it's unclear, kind of like late 40s, early 50s. And she has never gotten married, but there is this man that she should have married years ago, who is also around, and she notices very instantly that something is off with Cordelia and her mom. And so she's trying to figure that out, but she is very drawn to like Cordelia and like kind of wants to help her, and so everything kind of goes from there. So first off, I'm gonna talk about the world building. This is a nice kind of like lower fantasy story. It's about it, I would consider it sort of cozy fantasy adjacent, because there's some coziness to it in that it's just about these people and it's just about these interactions, and it's not like saving the whole world or whatever, and it's very like close-knit in, you know, all of their interactions with each other, and it's not larger political anything, it's just them. So the talk of like sorcerers and people not necessarily knowing a ton about them and like the lore behind them, what they can and can't do, all of that felt like very grounded, and also just the like the small town like village vibes of it all, and that just kind of like historical feel to it, even though it wasn't like it was based in our world, but it had that sort of like you're watching a little bit of historical drama kind of unfold, even in how like the staff is like talked about and just like different standings in society and things like that. But next, we talk about our characters, and the characters are the most important part of any like T Kingfisher story. I feel like she really does these like character dynamics and interesting, like really fully fleshed out characters. What I really love about her characters of all the books I've read by her so far, which is like my fourth or fifth one, kind of trying to work my way through some T Kingfisher, is that she really makes these characters jump off the page and feel like real people, and she gives them quirks that really make sense. What I really liked about this is that these were characters within ages that you don't really follow necessarily a lot, like a 14-year-old and like a 50-something-year-old. Like she tends to write these like older female characters that I like, and the Hester has this like personality quirk of like raising geese. Like she used to raise geese as a hobby and hyperfixation, and that's like just very cute. And then there's these other characters that come into play too, like Hester's friends that are around. One of them's really into cards, and it just makes it so that these characters feel like real people, and it feels like, you know, they exist off of the page, that they have these pre-existing friendships that feel really real. This dynamic that she has with that man that she like, they've been in love with each other and like everyone knows it. That's really sweet. And also, again, like an older romance. So it's not romance heavy at all, but it's this like small romantic subplot that is very sweet. And there's just a lot of care put into the characters and the character relationships and the character dynamics. Lastly, we talk about the plot. This plot is really about overcoming abuse, and so like Cordelia's story and how Hester like helps that and trying to figure these things out from places of not a lot of power, and how do they out-manipulate a manipulator in a lot of ways. Hester especially uses that like trope of just being like a bumbling older woman to like make things work for her, and Cordelia has this very like sheltered, possibly like neurodivergent a sense of like she just doesn't really know how to like communicate with people and was never really taught, and just like doesn't know how to be manipulative, in contrast to her mother. And so all of this is just very like you feel it very, again, rooted in reality, even though it's a fantasy story, and you're just pulling for them to outwit this really awful person and like get some agency back in the ways in which they like grow and are able to do that. All of that is very cool and sweet. So yeah, I loved this. I gave it like 4 to 4.5 stars, solid. I've liked everything by T Kingfisher that I've read. It's either 4 or 5 stars, so I'm going to continue to read stuff by her. I just like her like gothic, fairy tale adjacent, cozy kind of fantasy, even if it's dark. Like she definitely explores darker themes, but there's a coziness to it and a closeness to it that I really like that she does and cultivates so well. So yeah, comment below and let me know what you thought of A Sorceress Comes to Call. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!